Greetings, everyone. I'm going to talk about this painting study that I'm working on from Perfume, Story of a Murderer, which is an excellent movie from the early 2000s. So here I've got, I'm working from big shapes to small shapes. I pretty much always do that every time. I am not trying to copy the photo necessarily here, which in this case is a screenshot of the film. I'm more trying to capture the feeling of the light, as well as practice multi-figure composition, which is something that's very challenging and is something I just need more practice doing. And I was compelled by this composition because it's very painterly. I'm noticing that there's a big light fall off from the faces of the people to their feet. So in this scene, I'm thinking about where the light sources are, because in my painting, my decisions are based off of my understanding of how the light in this scenario is behaving. So there's a main light source that's coming from behind the camera. That's the very bright light source. And then there's a secondary fill light source that's coming from the left side a little bit. And then you have the fire. And what I'm trying to do by working large to small is making sure that my compositional shapes are talking to each other here. And I'm also making sure that my color choices and my value decisions are based off of my understanding of the whole needs of the entire picture. That's what I'm really trying to say there. I'm interested in this case in the color of the light. This is really a monochromatic painting. Everything here is mostly orange or red-orange, with some slight forays into gray and neutral. And I'm trying to capture the intensity of the fire. I'm trying to show how I'm seeing the edges of textures and the color and texture of the fabric in the scene. Not just the costumes, but the rag piles that are on the ground. And trying to understand the way that the image is reading as a whole. And a lot of times I'll stop and just look, just have a nice look at the painting before I keep moving and make different choices. Another thing I'll do is I'll flip it forwards and backwards. And the reason that I do that is because if you're trying to communicate form visually, it will read left to right or right to left. It doesn't matter. And flipping your image back and forth both helps you correct your proportions, but it also it helps you avoid making any mistakes that are easy to avoid just by looking at your picture backwards. That forces your brain to look at it like it's a new painting. Okay, so at this point in the painting, I'm starting to work on the smaller shapes and more of the details. I would say here that I don't necessarily have each figure quite figured out and drawn in, but I've at least got a decent idea of where I want most of these characters to be. I'm also really interested in the gesture of the characters these actors are portraying. They're in a very richly curated environment, very elaborate set here that's a very well researched period reenactment of 18th century France. And it's hard to find good reference of that. So when you come across a movie here that manages to achieve some real authenticity with the costumes and the depictions of people's daily lives, I find that compelling subject matter to practice from. And this isn't something I really consider to be one of, quote unquote, my paintings, as in, I don't think of this as a personal piece. This is a master copy. I'm looking at the work that this director and this film crew and these actors have done, and I'm studying what they've done as a way of improving my painting, not as a way of trying to claim their work as my own. You know, they did the work in arranging these props and with the lighting here, and then in the context of the edited film. So I'm really benefiting from all of the groundwork done by these folks. And if you've ever been on a movie or TV set, you know how much work that is, and how disciplined everyone is, and what a huge investiture of human effort and energy goes into that. I like my digital paintings to feel very painterly and traditional. I think that digital paintings are in many ways a lot like painting with acrylic, which when I was in art school I was trained to work in acrylic. So Photoshop has an intuitiveness to it that in that I can relate the way that it behaves to a painterly metaphor that I already know quite well. I've spent quite a bit of time painting with acrylic, and I'm very familiar with it. So having something that I can compare to it it opens up the digital medium as well as informing my traditional painting. So these two mediums talk to each other, and by two mediums I mean acrylic painting and digital painting. They talk to each other in that you can do many of the same effects that you can across the two different platforms here. And knowing that means that it becomes much easier, in my opinion, to make the digital work livelier and feel more traditional, feel more it feels more alive. It's got some randomness built into it that where even though the mark may not be exactly perfectly drawn or rendered, it still achieves the purpose of describing a plane turning or a silhouette, or it works as part of a larger compositional shape. Anyway, my name's Sam, and thanks for watching.